We're here. We win. I don't know why I'm so weird at the beginning of live streams. That's just who I am. Welcome. Happy Valentine's Day. If you're celebrating, if you're not, cool. Happy Tuesday. I wanted to talk about a lot of things, but I always want to talk about what you're struggling with. And I've had a lot of different people come onto my account lately, which is super exciting. Got a lot of new people here, and I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you for being here. And a couple people have asked me, like, why does it feel different when I'm singing on stage versus when I'm singing at home? And why is it, some people have said it's very terrifying to sing in front of people versus at home. And some people have said singing on stage feels more free and open, like you have more momentum than when you sing at home. And it's a very interesting thing, isn't it? You would think it would be the same for everybody, that, you know, singing in front of people is more nerve-wracking than singing at home in your comfort zone. But it doesn't turn out that way. And it's because we're all very differently built and differently raised. You know, we all have very different lives that we've lived up to this point and different traumas, basically, different things that trigger you. And so for some of us, it's really important to know that our tendency is to fight or flight, right? When we come into a difficult situation, I like to say, like, what's your go-to move when somebody comes up and confronts you? I don't know, maybe on the road too. Like, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, what's your go-to move? Some people cuss them out. Some people speed up. Some people back off and say, "Whoa, okay, you go where you're going. You do your thing. You're more important than me." And some people just freeze. You know, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what do I do? And so that's your natural response, and it's not a bad thing. For some people, you know, we get really judgy of ourselves, like, oh man, why did I freeze? I could have said this, and I could have said this, and I could have said this. You know, when you're talking about singing, it's a freeze response is a totally okay thing if you have been dealing with a lot of trauma around singing and putting yourself on stage. And so it's really important to know your patterns and to know what in your life has led you to these patterns up until now. So, like, if you're a fight or flight person, specifically a fight person, because that's usually what I am, not necessarily on the road, but when I'm singing, I'm trying to muscle things out. I'm trying to force things to happen, even if it's not in the cards at that moment. If I have a high note that I'm trying to sing, or I'm trying to sing this run, my default is to muscle it, to force it. And so in those moments when I'm preparing for that note, that phrase, my default body movement is preparing for that fight, right? It's tightening up, it's hugging everything in, it's the muscles are just, okay, I'm preparing for a big scary thing, right? Even if it's not a big scary thing, even if I've done it 100 times before, if I perceive it as a big scary thing, my nervous system is going to take that as, oh God, there's a big scary thing coming, right? Just like if somebody cuts you off in traffic, like there's that moment of hesitation, like, are they going to hit me? Like, so your nervous system tightens up, you start sweating, you start getting dry mouth, your arms tighten up, you start getting ready to take care of yourself. You know, we go back into, you know, animal mode for a couple minutes when that happens. Sometimes it lasts longer than a couple minutes. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So when you're singing, it's really good to notice when that happens. So first thing is to just notice what your pattern is. Okay, my tendency is to fight. My tendency is to freeze. My tendency is to, I don't know, forget words, whatever happens. And so when you have that knowledge of what your tendency is, then the next step is to just see it as a part of you. You know, it's no less a part of you than the color of your eyes. It's no less a part of you than the tone of your natural voice, your vocal fingerprint. right? Which is different for everybody. And I think so many people get down on themselves. Like, I have students all the time that come in and they say, man, I freaked out before I got to that note. God, why did I have to freak out? And I say, it's okay to freak out because it's a big, scary thing for you at this moment. And you don't have to pretend to be in a different place than you are. You don't have to pretend to be less scared of that big moment than you are. It's okay to be in a place where that big moment still freaks you out. But the thing that we can control is how we prepare for it, right? And so we can start to notice that this is our pattern, this is our nervous system. One thing that one of my mentors, Ruby Rose Fox, talks about all the time is that the nervous system response is not your fault, right? You have no control over it. A lot of times it's starting to happen before anything even happens. Like when you stub your toe, you tense up even before the pain starts to happen, right? You see somebody starting to cut you off and your nervous system starts to engage way before that happens because it's like a superhuman response. It knows what's going to happen before it happens. And so it starts to rev up your response, whatever that is for you. And so when you're doing that while you're singing, it can really mess with you because if you've practiced at home and you never had any of this nervous system response, any of this trigger nervousness happen, you're going to be like, I don't know what's happening. This is not what I planned for. This is not how I've been used to doing this song. Oh God, everything's off the rails. And then we judge ourselves for having this totally normal nervous system response. And then we get down on ourselves thinking, why couldn't I do it just like I did it at home? Well, let me tell you something. In many years that I've been singing on stage, I've never felt as comfortable as I did at home. I've never felt 100% comfortable. And I think that has to be okay. For us as performers, I was telling one of my students today, we do magic on stage. We open ourselves up for these deep emotions and give other people permission to feel those things. And not very many people know how to do that well without completely breaking down themselves. And so what we do is literal breaking open of our souls. And so it takes training to break ourselves open every time we get on stage and not completely fall apart and completely be a ball of nerves and emotions on the floor, right? We are taking charge of that room for that moment in time. And we are showing them how to feel things. We're touching them with our voices and our hearts and whatever art that we're doing. This can be writing, it can be painting, it can be whatever as well. We're holding space for that emotion in that moment. And so we have to train ourselves to get to this place of I can open myself up and not be completely derailed by my nervous system response. And the way to do that is to slowly, over time, train our mind to approach our nervous system response in a different way. And as we start to train our mind to see our nervous system response as normal, then we can start to take little teeny steps out of our comfort zone. And then once we do that and we don't die, we give our nervous system and our mind evidence that we didn't die, and we are maybe able to expand our comfort zone a little bit. And so this continues over time, and we start to be able to sing higher notes. This is how we expand range, right? Same deal. We try and hit higher notes from a place of ease and not straining. And over time, you start to realize, oh, I can hit that note now because I have trained and stretched my actual physical mechanism, but also trained my mind and my nervous system not to see that note as big and scary and a thing we need to prep our whole body for. Hopefully this is making sense. And so expanding our range, learning a new run or something can also be a thing that triggers our nervous system. Like, it can be really impossible when you listen to Beyonce do all of her crazy runs to think, oh, I could, there's no way I could ever do that. But if we break it down little bit by little bit and slow it down, then we're training our nervous system to think, okay, this little bit I can do. This little bit I can do. Maybe I can put these together. Go figure. And so then we're training our nervous system to think, okay, this is not such a big deal. This is not a threat anymore. And so over time, that big, scary run becomes a piece of 4 different parts that we have done many, many times. And it becomes more of a muscle memory for your actual physical mechanism. And it becomes less of a big, scary thing for your nervous system. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. That's how most techniques work out. We tend to try and be all perfect all at the same time, but it never works out that way. So when somebody asks me, like, why can't I just do this run? Why can't I just sing this high note? I say, well, if you've never even gotten close to that, if you've never tried any teeny little bit of it, if you've never broken it down and gotten your nervous system used to it, then of course it's going to feel like a big scary thing, and your muscles are going to tense up, and you're going to feel like you can't breathe, and your mouth is going to get dry, because that's your biology, right? This is your assured response to something that feels scary and big and out of your depth. And it's not a problem. It's not your fault. It doesn't make you a worse singer. It's just how your body works. And so if we make things a little less scary over a period of time, and we train our muscles and we train our brain-body connection, it becomes a little less scary, and our comfort zone becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And so then when we take that step, now we're not stepping out of our comfort zone anymore. That big run becomes a thing that you've done many times, and it's not going to trigger your nervous system response. It's not going to be as scary, and it's not going to trigger your body to think, oh, we got to tighten up and prepare for this anymore. It's like, oh, I've done this before many times. That's how the singers that you see everywhere seem so effortless and free, and they can do whatever the heck they want with their voice all the time. This is how they've gotten there. Many, many times of taking a mini step out of your comfort zone, and then it trains you. It trains all of your systems, all of your body systems and your mind systems to accept that that's where you are, and that's okay, and that this becomes our new norm. And then the next time, because we know, I talk about this all the time, confidence does not come before you do a scary thing. If you're waiting for confidence, you're never going to be able to do it, because confidence doesn't come from that space before you do a scary thing that you've never done before. Confidence comes after you take the leap, and then you're like, oh, I didn't die. Okay, cool, great. Now I can take that second step. Confidence comes from the first step. Second step, third step, just builds and builds and builds exponentially. So because we know that confidence doesn't come before the first step, we have to find that nerve somewhere from a safe place, knowing that we'll be safe, to take that mini step outside your comfort zone. And the way to do that is having somebody there with you, whether that's your vocal coach, whether that's another person who gets it, who understands where you are in this journey, in this learning about your nervous system and your body and your whole voice system. And yes, your voice is not just your respiratory system. Your voice is not just your vocal folds. It's your entire whole self, baby. If you've ever been taught that your voice is just here, so much more, so many more layers. There's many, many layers that we need to address. This is technically where sound is made, yes. However, so many more parts of ourselves, because we're fascinating, multifaceted creatures, us humans. So what I'm saying is, you may not feel comfortable or confident when you're taking that first step into something new, even if it's a little micro step into trying a big note that you've never tried before. But in order to do that stuff without hurting yourself, it's really important to do it from a safe place. A safe place like a trauma-informed vocal coach. would hold. A safe place like a community of like-minded singers who are also doing this really important work would hold, like Vocal Magic. If you follow Ruby Rose Fox, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that I talk about her all the time. Her community, Muscle Music, is an incredible place to practice this co-regulation of our nervous system as performers together at the same time. And it really makes a huge difference. Like it's really hard to do this co-regulation fully on your own. Like if your body is in this heightened state, this dysregulated state, there's not a lot that you can think into existence to bring yourself down, at least for a little while. And so in some states, I'm learning that I had no idea. I'm learning that even deep breathing, you can't bring yourself out of that dysregulation. It'll take time, other people, feeling somebody else's heartbeat, hugging somebody, feeling somebody hold you, just being still, taking little teeny movements, that kind of stuff is the only thing that will help you get dysregulated from some states. Some states, movement is really, really important. Some states, deep breathing is helpful, but some states it's not. So I love learning about this stuff, which is why I follow Ruby Rose on Muscle Music. And if you're curious, it's Muscle Music 2_. I share her stuff constantly. So if you're on here, you should know what her stuff looks like by now, because I'm in love with the work that she's doing. It's so important. It's so important to know what your patterns are and to know and love what your patterns are. I'll say it again. Number one, it's more important than all the technique in the world. It's the most important thing to know what your patterns are, both muscle and mind and nervous system. Know what your patterns are. Number two, it's so important to know and love what your patterns are. You don't have to like it. We just need to accept it. We need to stop resisting it. That's what I mean by know and love. If you're resisting your nervous system's patterns, then you're just going to be in battle mode with yourself constantly. And no wonder you're tired, right? I have done that for so many years. I've had voices in my head that said, the ego voices that they're like, you're not good enough. You got to go study more. You got to do more work, more lessons, blah, blah, blah. Then the other side of my ego goes, you're too much. Stop being so loud. Just be quiet and crawl into bed and do nothing. And so I've spent so many years in that battle with myself over and over again. You're not enough. You're too much. Never accepting where I was. I was never able to just settle and be. Something was always pushing me into another space. Something was always saying, wherever you are, it's wrong. If that sounds familiar to you, this is the work that we need to be doing. Sure, I can teach you how to sing high notes. Sure, I can give you warm-ups and exercises. I can teach you how to sing musical theater instead of country. I can teach you how to read music. I can teach you how to belt safely. I can teach you how to find your mix. All that stuff, if you learn it without knowing what your nervous system triggers are, if you learn it without knowing what your gremlins are, if you learn it without knowing and loving and accepting all these things that are going to come up as humans, as performers, you're not going to be able to perform. You're not going to be able to sing things the way you know you can sing them when you're at home in the shower. You're going to be approached by these perceived threats, and your body's going to do its thing, and you're always going to be battling with yourself, and you're going to be telling yourself, no, that's a wrong response. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not a wrong response. It's the response that your body has, and it's beautiful. Your job is to know it's coming, see it coming from far away, because you have done this work and you have learned what your responses are. And then your next job is to be like, okay, I knew this was coming. I accept it. It was always going to happen. I can't control it. But this is what I'm going to do to prepare myself better the next time. Or this is what I'm going to do right now in this moment to make myself feel safer. Find somebody else to co-regulate with. Find your deep breathing. Just grab a hold of your arms, your chest, and just remind yourself that you are safe from the body. A lot of times it's not something you can talk yourself into. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just runaway thoughts and you can just be like, nope, gremlin voice, go away. Other times we got to go in through the body. And that's another thing I'm learning too. Therapy is not enough. Who knew? This nervous system work is life-changing for me. So yeah, that's what I have to say. All that is to say, it's Valentine's Day. Give yourself a little love. From whatever way you know you need it. Whether that is taking a step forward with a project that you've been putting off for a while because you didn't feel like you were going to do a good enough job. F that voice, right? We now know that taking imperfect action is the way to find confidence. It's the way to grow. Accepting where you are is the only way to move forward. You can't pretend you're somewhere else. You're 5 years along the line from where you are. It's not going to be that way. Taking care of yourself also might mean taking a friggin' rest. If you're anything like me, you overwork and you overdo and you just push, and you're a fighter, take a rest. Or at least a little one, and then work a little bit. And then another rest, and work a little bit. Or give yourself the gift of just singing for fun today. Honestly, that's probably the best one. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. I don't know. Walk around your house, walk around your neighborhood, just singing something for fun. Sing something without the pressure of getting it right. Let it be ugly, let it be messy, let it be stupid sounding, let it be quote unquote wrong. Doesn't exist. Just have fun with it. Yep. That's what I have to say. Just sing for fun. Give yourself what you need. Last week I talked a lot about saying yes to yourself. Along those lines. Go watch that video. That's a really good one along these lines too. Yeah. Just notice, accept, give yourself what you need. I love you very much. Thank you again to all the new people that are here. I really appreciate you. If you're watching this and you're like, okay, I want more. I have all of these magic sessions every Tuesday for the last 20 weeks or so recorded on my YouTube channel. So you can go find them. They're also all in my group. And if you're curious about that, let me know. Super affordable. Also, Vocal Magic is my signature program. It's a 6-month program. It's a big deal. If you want to dive into this work and do this work with me over 6 months in a co-regulating group of people who get it, other singers who are at the same place as you, who are working on themselves on many different levels, working on trying to sing in front of more people more easily, with more ease and freedom and joy. But we need a safe base to do it. This is exactly what I created this program for. That's starting in March. I don't have a date quite yet, but I will be announcing it very soon. So if you're curious about any of that, just send me a little message, and my DMs are always open for anything that you have, whether it's about this stuff, or if you want to know more about me or what it's like to work with me, let me know. And I have a couple more voice lessons today, but I will be back next Tuesday, and hopefully during the week. I'm trying to post more little reels and stuff. So if you have stuff that you're wondering, let me know. Just DM me, and I will try to make a post about it and let you know what I think about it. Of course, there's millions of other voice teachers you can go follow, and I appreciate you for being here and for wanting to know how I see the voice and how I see everything working together. And I really appreciate you being here and listening to my little self and what I have to say. And it's my serious joy in the world to talk about this stuff. I really love it. It makes me so happy. If you're one of my students, you know I could talk about this stuff for hours and hours, but I'm trying to limit myself to 20, 25 minutes. So I'm I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and I'll see you over there or in my DMs or in Vocal Magic in probably about a month. We'll be starting, and I'm super excited. It's going to be great. I love teaching it so much. I'm halfway through my last cohort that started in November, and they just had their first performance, and they just freaking killed it. So yeah, I'm excited to start a new cohort. I'm excited to see who comes, and I can't wait to meet you. And I love you, and I'll see you soon.